There was once a time when the wolf did not fear man, and man did not fear the wolf. Man respected their fellow hunter, and in return the wolf respected them. But this is the story of how those peace-filled days met their end. It was a cold winter's night, and the forest's only red wolf pack had just made their first kill in days, for this winter had been a cold and harsh one. Among the older and more experienced wolves was a young pup who watched eagerly from the sidelines. Little Red was her name, for her fur was the brightest and most colorful of the pack. It was the first time she had been brought along for the hunt. "Little Red," called the pup's mother, "come, take this Domi and Merle to your dear grandmother. She is too weak with age to hunt with the rest of the pack, and needs to eat. Stay on the dirt path and tread carefully through the forest so your paws don't freeze. And don't forget to announce yourself before entering her den. You know your grandmother is hard of hearing these days."
"Yes, Mother, I'll be careful,"
said Little Red, licking her mother's muzzle before running off towards the woods. Grandmother Wolf lived on the outskirts of the wood, near a man village that smelled of smoke from the burning orange flowers. The journey was about 3 miles from her den to her grandmother's, but for a young pup like Little Red, it was quite the travel. As the clouds swept further over the pale light of the moon, Little Red became cold and weary. The dirt of the path was much warmer than the icy snow that filled the woods, so the pup curled into a ball for a short rest. It was at this time that a tall shadow of a man appeared from the depths of the forest to greet her.
Good evening, little wolf.
He smiled.
"Good evening."
Little Red smiled back, unabashed and unafraid. The humans that she had met before had never given her a reason to be untrusting, so she felt no danger from this man.
Where are you off to so late, little wolf?
"To my grandmother's.
What have you got at your feet?
Me and Merle. Today we had a large hunt, and my poor grandmother is too weak to run with the pack in the winter, so I'm bringing her something good to eat."
Where does your grandmother live, little wolf?
"Just a little further towards the forest edge. Her den is by the bridge leading to the man village. Do you know of it?"
replied Little Red.
Ah, yes. As a matter of fact, that village is my home.
Little Red leapt to her feet in excitement, thinking she had made a friend of the man. However, she did not know that the man had a different reason for speaking so kindly to her. You see, the man was a hunter, and Little Red's beautiful fur had caught his eye.
Say, little wolf, have you ever seen the blue winter flowers that grow from the snow in these parts? They are quite beautiful around this time of year. Many people in my village have said that they help ease the joints of the elderly. Perhaps your grandmother could use such a plant, seeing as she is unable to hunt with you.
"They sound wonderful. Grandmother Wolf would really appreciate such a gift. Thank you so very much."
Little Red's eyes gleamed with joy as she bounded off the clear path and into the snow-filled forest in search of the flower. Little Red wandered about like the puppy she was until she was no longer within sight of the dirt path. Meanwhile, the man ran straight to the grandmother's den, finding it quickly and easily, then cupped his hands around his mouth to howl as puppyish as any human could.
"Who's there?"
Came a voice from deep within the hole of the den.
Little Red,
Said the man.
I have brought meat and marrow for you. Can I please come in?
"Crawl down the burrow.
Called out the grandmother.
I am too weak to climb, but be careful. I wouldn't want you to slip."
Without saying a word, the man slid down the burrow and slit the old wolf's throat in one fluid motion. He skillfully cut away at her pelt and draped the fresh fur over his shoulders, wearing the skin as if he himself were the wolf. Little Red, however, had been running about, digging up sleeping plants until finally unearthing the blue flower that the man had told her about. Pleased with her findings, the young wolf scampered back to the trail and finished off her journey. She was surprised to find footprints at the mouth of the den, for her grandmother didn't often leave her home. When Little Red stepped into the burrow, she smelled the scent of blood and man. At first, she thought that perhaps a man from the village had been kind enough to bring meat down to her grandmother, and for a moment she even felt grateful to whoever could have done it. Little Red called out as her mother had instructed, but received no answer. So she continued on to her grandmother's quarters. There she lay, muzzle down in the dirt and looking quite odd.
Grandmother Wolf, are you alright?
Asked Little Red.
But of course, my dear, for you are here.
Was the reply. Little Red smiled, flattered by the compliment, but couldn't help but think that something was wrong.
Come closer, my child. You have yet to lick my nose.
Oh yes, how silly of me.
As Little Red came close, the man leapt from beneath the wolf pelt and swept the pup into a net with one swift motion. Satisfied with his catch, the man clambered from the den and set off down the bridge leading to his village. Little Red's cries echoed through the canyon, but the man was too happy with his findings to pay her any attention. Her puppy howls were carried on the wind and into the forest, where a nearby lone wolf heard her calls. With a mad dash, the wolf raced through the trees and across the bridge to discover the wicked man who had stolen Little Red.
Drop her, you men!
The lone wolf roared, leaping high into the air. The wolf's claws dug deep into the flesh of the man, and his teeth were soon to follow. With the man torn and limp, the lone wolf freed Little Red and carried her by the scruff of her neck across the bridge.
That man killed my grandmother.
Men have become evil creatures, little one.
But we did nothing to bother them.
It doesn't matter to them anymore. They killed my mate, my pups, and we never did anything to hurt them. Men have disrupted the peace between us. The woods are no longer safe.
Little Red nodded, horrified by this discovery, and ran home with the lone wolf close behind. She did not stop until arriving, out of breath, to her den. With a heavy heart, she informed her parents of the tragedy that had befell her, and the lone wolf was there to confirm her words. The story was quick to spread throughout the pack, and from there it traveled through the forests and the tundras until nearly every wolf in the land knew of man's deception.